Hey yo everybody, Johnny B here with devslopes.com, and we're getting close to the end. We have just a couple of more activity views to go over. In this video we are going to finish up our ad review, and so when we click on one of our food trucks and we go to ad review, we see nothing right now. So let's go ahead and fix that. And you know what, one thing I did want to emphasize real quick is with our shared preferences that we went over last time. So here in our login activity, right here where we are saving the boolean is logged in as true, I'm going to comment that out. I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to go into our emulator and I'm going to delete that app. So I'm going to say WTF and uninstall it. And this will delete any of our saved preferences. And then I'm going to rerun it. All right, so we're back up. And so without having that shared preferences saving our is logged in state, whenever we logged in, we would have to log in, and I would say John at johnny.com, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We could sign in, but because we aren't saving it, it doesn't remember. So every time you try to log in and leave a review or anything, you'd have to log in each and every time. And so that's no good. And so I just wanted to emphasize that without having our shared preferences saving our data, and this is persisting it to the disk. And so even if we close our app entirely, then it will still save that information. If you uninstall it, then everything's gone. But as long as it's still installed, then that information is still saved for you. Okay, so just want to go over that real quick. So let's work on our ad review activity. And I think right this time we're going to actually work on our UI first before we create our data service call. So let's come down here to layout. And we want our activity ad review. So let's work on this. And it's going to be pretty simple. We just need a couple of text fields so that we're able to enter in the title and our review. So I'm going to just drag in two plain text fields here. And let's see, what is this? A relative layout? Let's convert this to a constraint layout. So I right-clicked on the activity ad review, and I'm saying convert relative layout to constraint layout. And there we go. So I want this to be with margins of 16:16. Constrain it to the right as well. For the layout width, we are going to say match parent. And there we go. And then we just need another edit text, plain text field. Just going to drop that in right here. And let's constrain that to the left. Let me zoom this in. Constrain it to the left, constrain it to the right, constrain it to the bottom of the top field. And again, we're going to say layout width is match parent. Come on, layout width match parent. There we go. All right, and here our text is going to be nothing, but we are going to have a hint, and we're going to say review title. Okay, we're going to do the same thing for name. Here we're going to say delete it, and our hint is going to be say like something like, what did you think? All right, and we're going to make this, and let's give a couple of IDs. So for the review title, let's say review title. I'm going to say yes. And here we're going to say review text. Hello. Okay, so Android Studio totally crashed on me. So I had to restart and get back to where we were. So I think this is where we were with naming, giving IDs to our review title. And so I have review title here. And we are going to call this review title. Say yes. And here we will say review text. Okay. And then we're going to make this bigger. Let's give it a height of, say, maybe 150. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, let's go 200. There we go. And let's come here into our properties for it, and let's give it a gravity of top. There we go. That way the hint's right there at the top. That's where your text will appear. And then we're going to need a couple of buttons here. So let's give a couple of, not a OK button, yeah, button. And that will say, call this add. And this one will say cancel. Okay. And we'll set some constraints to the left, to the top, to the bottom of that text field, and to the right. And let's give it a margin of 16 for both of those. 16. All right, that looks good. And let's give some identifiers. So for our add button, we'll say add review button. And for our cancel, we'll say cancel review button. All right, and that looks pretty good. All right, so let's come up here to our add review activity, and let's go ahead and hook those up. So we're gonna say private edit text, and that's gonna be review title. Then we have private edit text, and we have review text. We have private button, add review button. We have private button, cancel button. So those look good. And then here in on create, let's go ahead and hook those up to their IDs. So we're going to say review title is equal to an edit text, and that is find view by ID r.id dot review title, and then we have review text, and that is equal to edit text find view by ID r.id dot review text. Looks good. Then we got our buttons. We'll say add review button is equal to button. That's find view by ID r.id dot, and that's add review button. And we got our cancel button, which is a button, and we'll say find view by ID r.id dot cancel review button. That looks good. And then let's go ahead and add some listeners for those two. So we're going to say review add review button dot set on click listener, and we're going to say new view on click listener, and this is where we're going to call our data service. And then down here we're going to have our cancel button dot set on click listener, new view on click listener, and our cancel button, all we're going to do is say finish, and that will just dismiss that activity and return to the one we were at before. Okay, a couple other things that I want to do in preparation for creating our data service API call is we're going to need a food truck that is passed into this activity, just like we did with the other ones. So nothing that we haven't done already. So we're going to need to come over here to our food truck detail activity, to our load add review, and we are headed to the add review activity. And so we just need to put the extra in there. So you know what? We can just grab this line right here and copy it and paste it. and intent.putExtra food truck detail activity dot extra item truck, and this will be this food truck. There we go. That should do it. And then we're just going to retrieve that truck in our add review activity. And that's pretty easy to do. All we got to do is say here in our on create, we're going to say food. Oh, first we got to create a variable for it. So we're going to say private food truck. And here that is food truck is equal to get intent dot get parcelable extra, and we are grabbing it from our food truck detail activity, and that is dot extra item truck. Okay, so that looks good. And then the last thing that we're going to do in preparation, I think, is get our shared preferences up and running. So we're going to say shared preferences, and we're calling those prefs. And then down here in our onCreate, again, we're going to say prefs is equal to preference manager dot get default shared preferences, and this. And I lied. We're going to do one more thing. We're going to say private string, and we're going to call this auth token. And I think right here in onCreate, we'll say auth token is equal to prefs dot get string, and the string reference is constants dot auth token, and then we're going to say if it doesn't exist, then we'll say something like does not exist. Doesn't really matter, because that auth token will be passed into an API call, and it'll just return an error. Okay, and then so that's all looking real good, and I think we're almost ready to work with our data service. So one more thing in preparation, let's create our interface that we know we're gonna probably want. So public interface, and this is add review interface, and we're gonna say void success boolean and success. Okay, and then right up here, let's say add review interface, and we'll call it listener, and that is equal to a new add review interface, and we'll put a semicolon here. And this is what we're going to do once we are successfully added a new review, and we don't really need to do anything at all except for finish, and that will close out this activity and return us back to our detail view. All right, so I'm going to save this, and now we are ready to actually make the API call. So let's open up our data service, and we're going to come down here below our food truck reviews request, and we're going to say add review post. And now, even though this review post is very similar to the other ones, we've already done a bit of copy pasting. This one we're going to go ahead and write out just to give you some more practice, and also because this one's a little bit different. And so let's head over to Postman. And so we've gone over login and registers, and so we know we're getting a token back. So when we want to add a food truck review, for instance, we need to have our usual things. We have our URL that we are calling, we have our food truck ID that we're passing in, and we have our information that we're also sending, like our title and our text. But one thing that's new is a new header, and our header is of type authorization, and then we have the keyword bearer and then a space, and then the authorization token. Now we have that auth token. So all we need to do now is learn how to create a header and pass that header along with the post request. So that's what we're going to do right now. So let's head back to Android. And let's get started. We're going to need a new function, and we're going to call it add review. And what are we going to need? We are going to need to pass into it a string that is the review title, a string that is the review text, a food truck to get the food truck ID, and we're going to need context, which we're going to call context. Then we are going to need a add review interface that we just created, and we're going to call that listener. And I think that's all. So we're going to finish that off with open and close parentheses. And let's see here, anything we forgot? Title, text, food truck. Oh, we forgot the authorization token. So I'm going to say lastly string and auth token. All right, that's a lot of parameters, but we're going to use them all. All right, so similar to our register and login requests, we are going to be passing in some JSON parameters, some JSON objects. So we're going to start with a try and catch block. And here in our try, just like before, we're going to say JSON object, and we're going to call it JSON body again, and that is equal to a new JSON object. And then we're going to put in our information that we want. And for this one, all we need to do is put in the title, text, and food truck. So we're going to say JSON body dot put, and we need, whoops, and this is going to be called title, and then we're going to pass in the title that we get from our function, JSON body dot put, and this one is text and text, and JSON body dot put, and this is food truck, and food truck dot get ID. Okay, so what else do we need? We need obviously a URL, so we're going to say string URL is equal to, and let's go and add that to constants. So that's going to be right. We're going to copy this one and paste. We're going to say add review, and let's see what that path was over in Atom. Food truck, let's see here, add a review, reviews slash add, and then the ID. So we're going to say reviews slash add, reviews slash add, and then I'm going to add that slash at the end because we're going to append our food truck ID to the end. So then coming back to our data service, we have constants dot add review plus food truck dot get ID. All right, there we go. And what do we got going on here? Oh, yep, wants us to handle our JSON exceptions. So we are going to say catch JSON exception. We'll call it E, and we're just going to print that to the stack trace. We're going to say E print stack trace. All right, and we're going to save that. And I think that we are ready to start our JSON request. Let's see here. Oh, we forgot one thing with our JSON body. We need to say final string m request body is equal to JSON body dot toString. So we need to convert that to a string. All right, now we're ready for our JSON object request. So I'm going to say JSON object request. Let me bring this down to the middle. And we're going to, this is going to be review request, and it's going to be a new JSON object request, and our method is going to be dot post, and we're going to pass in our URL. Then we're going to pass in null, and then we need a new response listener. And then right here in between the curly brace and the last parentheses, we're going to make a comma, and we're going to say new error, or new response, new error listener. There we go. With a capital R that pops up. Error listener is the one we want. And that looks good. And then we need our new methods that we've been working with, our getBody content type, our getBody, and our parse network response. This time though, we're going to have a fourth one, which is our getHeaders, and we'll get to that one though. So we're going to say get. We need a open close parentheses here. So then we're going to say get body, and so that's right here. And but first let's do the get body content type, and we are going to return application /JSON semicolon character set -UTF-8 semicolon. And then here in our get body, we need to have a try catch. And what we're catching here, if you remember, is an unsupported encoding exception, and we'll call that UEE. And we'll volley log this. We're going to say volley log .wtf, and we'll say unsupported encoding, and we'll pass the m request body and UTF-8, and then we'll return null. Okay, and then here let's throw on a semicolon right there, and then here we're going to return our mRequest body, and using our ternary operator, we're going to say null is if there's nothing, then return null mRequest body dot get bytes, and we need it to be UTF-8. All right, there we go. So we got our body taken care of. So now we are going to be passing our title, text, and food truck ID. And we have our get body content type. And we now let's work with our headers. All right. So we're going to say, well, first let's get our parse network response. Let's see, is this the one? Yeah, parse network response. And we're gonna do the check that we've been doing. So if response dot network status code, I should say, if response dot status code is equal to 200, which is all's everything's going good, then we're gonna say listener dot success is true. All right, perfect. And so now let's work with our headers. All right, so to work with our header with volley, we let's go ahead and see if we can find that right here. Get headers. All right, so we got a method here that's set up for us, and we're going to create a map, a hash map, and which is what it's expecting, map string string. So we're just gonna say map, and we're gonna say string string. And we're going to say that's headers, and that's going to be equal to a new hash map. Okay, and then we are going to put into our headers what we need to pass. And what do we need to pass? We need to pass that it is an authorization header, and then our bearer and our auth token. Okay, so I'm going to say dot put, and we're saying authorization, and then let's go ahead and create a just a quick variable for this. So here we can say final string bearer, and we're gonna say bearer space and then plus auth token. Okay, and that's what we'll pass right here, bearer, and semicolon here, and then we actually want it just to return just headers. There we go, which is our hash map that we created right here. So I'm going to save that, and let me see here. I think this looks pretty good. We need to throw in a couple logs in our on response and on error so we can keep track of that. So let's come up here to on response, and what are we actually receiving in our add review? Let's check out Adam, or let's check out Postman actually. So truck add review, and we're receiving, looks like a JSON object with a key of message and then a string and then a value string attached to it. So we can go ahead and parse that out here, and on response we can say try and catch JSON exception E, and we'll say, so I'm gonna say string message is equal to response dot get string, and the key is message, and then we'll just log that out, I think. So we'll say log dot I, and so we're gonna say JSON message and message. All right, that looks good. And then here in our exception, if we get one, we'll say log dot v, and we'll say JSON exception e dot get localized message. Save that. And then we just need to add this to the volley queue. So right down here, I'm going to say volley, not volley log, just volley dot new request queue. And what did we call this? Review request. So I'm going to say review request. And then we're going to say, or sorry, this is the, what do we want here? Hold on. Context. Oh, this is where we're passing in the context. Then we say add, and this is where we pass in the review, which is review request. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna save that. And you know what? I think this is all we need. So let's go head on over back to our add review activity. And right here, when we click to add, we are going to say data service dot get instance dot add review. And well, first we need to save the whatever we have in our edit texts. Okay, so we're going to say final string title is equal to review title dot get text dot to string, and then final string text is equal to review text dot get text dot to string. Okay, so now we can pass those in. So what do we got? We got a title. So title. What's next? Title text. We need to pass in our food truck. We need to pass in the base context. We need to pass in our listener, and then we need to pass in our auth token. And let's see, anything else? I think that is actually it. And if all goes according to plan, we should be adding a review, and that should work out. All right, so I'm going to save it. I'm going to press play, and I'm going to press OK. I'm going to click on the first one, Taco Nirvana, and we have 2 reviews in there currently. So I'm going to add a review. We're going to have to log in, john@johnny.com, 123456, sign in. That should save our is logged in status as well as our auth token. So then I'm going to come back and say add review, and we got an error. So let's see what's See what's going on here. And it says unable to start activity. Attempt to invoke virtual method, set on click listener on a null object reference. All right, so let's see what that's about. Okay, so I'm gonna see what we got here, and it's saying we have a problem with our add review button. Let's see what we have in our activity layout, activity add review, add. Okay, so our add review button, our ID does not match, does it? So we need to add another D to this, add review button. I'm gonna say press save, and let's see if that works. I'm gonna rerun it. Okay, so I'm gonna open up Taco Nirvana, add review. There we go. So because we're saving our is logged in, we're able to come straight to the add review. So I'm gonna say, this is great food. I am testing the add reviews. And say add. All right, and we got an unexpected response code 404. Okay, so you may see that it's like an hour later. Took me forever to find this little bug. And so there were a couple issues actually. First off, right here in our getBody content type, and this is back in our data service under our add review function, this should be equal. And I accidentally did a dash instead of an equal, and it took me forever to find that. But there it is. You know, sometimes that's how programming is. You make one little tiny typo and everything crashes. But there was actually another issue. We were getting that 401 error, which means that we don't have, it's an unauthorized request. And so did a little digging, and it turns out that our auth token wasn't actually saving, because if we come over and look in our auth service, we get the auth token right here inside of this try block, and that is where we are assigning the value of the token to our auth token. But down here in our response listener for our status code, we're setting our listener to true immediately after we receive a status code equal to 200. And so our auth token is never actually getting set, and so it was just null. So what we want to do is here we're going to say if it is not equal to 200, then we're going to say that success is false. And here under where we set our auth token, we'll say listener is listener.success is true. I'm going to press save, and that should do it. So I'm going to run it. Okay, so let's try on Taco Nirvana, add a review. Let's say tacos are pretty good. It's a great place. Add. All right, and then let's check our reviews. Whew, there it is. Tacos are a great place. Are pretty good. It's a pretty great place. All right, so our adding reviews is now working. Hallelujah. So just to recap, let's head over to our data service and check out our add review. We created a function and we passed into it our title text, our food truck context, our listener, and our auth token, which is saved. Now it is. And then we are getting it from our add review URL. We are passing into it a JSON body. And the different thing this time is that we have a bearer token, which we pass into our header. And that is what we are returning right here in our getHeaders function. And so now we are able to add reviews only when we are logged in and our auth token is saved, and we pass that as an authorization header. All right, so pretty cool stuff. And in the next one, I think will be our last one, we are going to finish up with adding a food truck. All right, So we'll see you then.